you can do for your neck. Hey, welcome fitness friends, Mike Kohler here. In this live video, we're going to go over a mobility movement program that you can do for your neck. You know, if you're working from home with this pandemic or you just feel tightness in your neck, we're going to go over like a nice mobility movement program that increase the flexibility and mobility of your neck. But it's going to be more of a lesson just about all different stretching techniques in general. So we'll go over some of my favorite stretching techniques. We'll go over some of the pros and cons of stretching. And if you have any questions, let me know. If anyone's out there, I think we got one person tuned in already. Give me a thumbs up. Let me know if the sound is good and everything. But if you're new to my channel, my name is Mike Kohler. I've been a fitness trainer and gym owner for over 30 years. I've helped thousands of people lose weight and just get into fantastic shape. Okay, so let's jump right into it. Let's talk about mobility, movement, and flexibility. And here are probably 3 or 4 of the most popular type of stretching protocols. Okay, one is called static stretching. You're probably familiar with that, but I'm going to break this down in more detail on the next slide. Another type is called passive stretching. I'm going to explain the difference between the two in this video. Then there's dynamic stretching, which I actually like. My two favorite are active stretching and mobility stretching. And that's what we're really going to focus on in detail. And at the end of the video, I'm going to show you a video, like a 2.5-minute video of a nice neck mobility movement program that you can do to just make your neck feel incredible. Okay, let's go. Let's first talk about static stretching. This is the type of stretching you're probably really familiar with. This is where you would like elongate a muscle. Like you hold that position for 30, 60, 90 seconds. Like let's say, for example, your hamstrings, the back of your leg is tight. You put your heel up on a chair, you flex at the hip, you do a little hip hinge, elongate the hamstring. You hold that position for a minute. It temporarily gets elongated. Now, that's a real common way of stretching. And there's definitely some pros and cons. See, one of the cons, though, I find of static stretching is that if you keep on doing it, and it's only giving you like a temporary increase in flexibility, there might be something else going on within your body. See, I'm also a big believer that muscle tightness is secondary to muscle weakness, meaning that muscles tighten up for a reason. Like if your body doesn't like a particular position that you're trying to get into and it tightens up, it's tightening up to protect itself. So instead of doing static stretching, I would rather you do more of active stretching or mobility movement, like we're going to be talking about later on in the video. So you're going to be strengthening these end ranges of mobility, these end ranges of a stretch by making yourself stronger. And that's going to truly increase your flexibility. And you'll understand this better as we go through all these slides. Okay, now the other type of stretching is passive stretching. Some people call this like the relaxed type of stretching. It works like this. Let's say you're laying down on a treatment table or a massage table, like you're working with a physical therapist, maybe you're working with a fitness trainer or a masseuse. Let's use the hamstring as the same example. Okay, you're nice and relaxed, you're laying on the massage table, and then someone passively, a therapist passively lifts your legs up when you're relaxed and takes you to that end range of motion. That means you didn't contract, you didn't move at all, they're moving you. That would be your passive range of motion. And there's definitely pros and cons of doing that too. A pro would be like, say maybe you're post-op, you had an operation and you're using a therapist to rehab you, and maybe there's some scar tissue there or some adhesions, and a real skilled therapist knows what they're doing, and they're taking you to your end range of a passive movement. Okay, the negative thing about that, look at it like this, that if you're constantly being passively stretched, like another way of doing passive stretching is, you see those straps that people attach to their ankle and they pull on the straps and like yank their leg up. If you're constantly in a relaxed state and someone's passively stretching you, just think about it. You don't really have any strength or neurological control. Like your central nervous system is not controlling that movement. Someone's passively doing it to you. So that end range of motion, that passive end range of motion, you don't really have any strength there or control. So that's somewhat of a vulnerable range of motion. So if you're constantly passively stretching and then you go move, you might be able to actually move into a position that you really shouldn't be in and potentially hurt yourself even further. So just keep that in mind. You're going to understand this better as we go on as well, when I really go into what active stretching and mobility movement is. Okay, let's go to the next slide. Like that, actually, dynamic stretching I do like. See, dynamic stretching is where you pretty much, it's like warming up. Let's say you're ready to play tennis, you're ready to go skiing, you're ready to like play some type of sport. What you want to do is just move dynamically, move nice and easy in normal range of motion just to warm yourself up. So for example, before you're playing tennis, instead of doing those static stretching that you see people do, like leaning forward with their calf, I'd rather you just maybe just move around easily, do some lunging, maybe hit the tennis ball nice and easy, increase your body temperature, just dynamically move in all planes of motion. And we're going to talk about planes of motion in this video as well too. I have a specific slide on that. Also, if anyone has any questions, I see someone's watching this, just let me know. Give me a thumbs up if the sound's coming in good or whatever. Now, also, I also made a note here. I don't want you to confuse dynamic stretching with ballistic. Ballistic movement is that bouncy type of stretching where you're almost using force or momentum to push you like beyond a normal range of motion. That's not dynamic stretching. Dynamic stretching is staying within a comfortable range of motion, and you're just warming your body up. So I do like dynamic stretching. Okay, now this by far, active stretching, is my favorite type of stretching, and it's very similar to mobility movement. See, active stretching is almost like excuse me, it's almost like working out to some degree, because you're actually contracting into end ranges of motion. And I'm going to explain what reciprocal inhibition means. But let's look at it like this. Let's say that your chest, your pectorals, your chest are really tight. Let's say your neck's bothering you, you've been working on the computer all day, you're in a protracted, your scapulars are protracted, you're really tight in your chest, and you want to increase the flexibility in your chest, but you want it to stick, you want it to be permanent. This is what I would do. I would put my arms here, I would externally rotate my humerus, my arm, because the pec is an internal rotator. You need to know a little bit about anatomy. And then I would move my arms back. So what am I doing now? I'm contracting and strengthening all my posterior muscles. And that's what reciprocal inhibition means. Whenever one muscle contracts, your antagonist has to relax or there be no motion. Almost like a bicep, right? You're making a bicep. The bicep is shortening. What's elongating? Your tricep. So if you want to increase the flexibility of your tricep, make a bicep. For some reason, if you can't flex your arm all the way because your tricep tightens up, that says to me that your brain, your central nervous system, doesn't like that position, meaning you have a weak bicep. How do you increase the flexibility of your tricep? Make your bicep stronger. How do you increase the flexibility of your chest, of your anterior muscle, your chest, your anterior deltoid? Strengthen the posterior muscles. Right? That's reciprocal inhibition. When one muscle contracts, the antagonist releases. It sends an inhibition response. So if you want to truly increase your flexibility and you want it to last, you have to strengthen those end ranges of motion. It's almost like holding an isometric contraction. So look at it like this. Like if I want to, when we go through the neck mobility, you'll see. If I want to stretch out the back of my neck, I'm gonna use the anterior muscles of my neck to contract them and stretch out the back, and I'm going to hold it. That's active stretching. So active stretching really is like strengthening the body, because muscle tightness to such a degree is secondary to muscle weakness. Muscles tighten up for a reason, and most people are tight because they're weak. That's the main reason. I mean, there could be some other things going on. For example, if you have bone spurs, like I have a bone spur in my shoulder. So, when I lift my arm up really, really high, I mean, bone might hit bone, I may have limited range of motion. There could be some anatomical issues and some genetic type things. But in general, I really would look at it like this. Muscle tightness is secondary to muscle weakness. It's somewhat a contrarian view. But that's why I love active stretching. Like if static stretching, typical stretching is not working for you, try strengthening your body. try some active stretching. Now, it's similar to mobility movement in that mobility movement, though, to me, is that you're actively moving, like shoulder, you're actively moving in all planes of motion, but you're not necessarily like going to the end range. You can stay in nice, comfortable range. But let's in this next slide, let's talk about different planes of motion so you understand what I mean better. Actually, this is just right out of a textbook. See, there were three general planes of motion. There's something called a sagittal plane, where you're splitting your body into right and left halves. That's kind of like moving straight ahead. Then there's like a transverse horizontal plane that will be like rotating, twisting. And there's a frontal plane, which is like a front and a back, where you'll be moving side to side. Like I find like a lot of clients come to me, like say I get a golfer, say I get a guy who's 50 years old, he's a golfer, he's a righty. He's so used to rotating just one side to the left, he's good in that transverse plane left motion, but he's not good in the frontal plane, right? Most people are always good straight ahead, like lunging, walking forward, but they're not good moving side to side. See, that's where mobility movement comes in. It's so important to be able to move pain-free in all planes of motion. And that's what mobility movement is. That's the best way to stretch, a combination of active stretching with mobility movement. And mobility movement does a number of different things. First of all, you're lubricating your joints, right? The synovial fluid in your joints, the viscosity of the fluid like thins out when you're moving around. You're bringing blood and oxygen to different parts of your body. Plus, like I talked about earlier, some people like to use the term that you're neurologically remapping your body. And let me explain. Let me go to the next slide so you can watch this video, because this is my mobility movement video. I'm going to explain this in detail though. But let me go into what I mean by neurologically remapping your body. Okay, let's say 6 months ago you bent over, to pick something off the ground, and you kind of like tweak your back. If like your back pulled, you wake up the next day, you got back pain. It's just like just a minor soft tissue type damage. It probably is going to heal up in about 3, 4, 5 weeks, but some people still feel pain. Like, why does someone from a minor injury feel pain 2, 3 years down the road? I have clients come to me who tell me stories. Mike, 20 years ago, I was in the garden, I bent over, I lifted up this thing, me and my husband, I hurt my back. For the next 20 years, my back has never felt good. And that could happen, but in 90% of the case, I think this is what's going on. See, when you hurt yourself, or when you pull a muscle, when you feel pain in a particular motion, your central nervous system, your brain never forgets. It says, oh my God, whenever I bend in that particular position, I feel pain, and your brain sends a pain signal, even though there is no tissue damage, even though you're 100% healed. You will still feel pain, and you can still feel pain. So what you have to do is that you have to retrain your central nervous system and prove to it that there's no injury there anymore, even though it's been healed for years, or for months, or for weeks. It may sound crazy, but it's true. And one way of doing that is through these mobility movements. You have to move pain-free in all different planes of motion, in the exact motion that caused the injury, that caused pain, but not on the load, not like lifting, just easy movement. And you're going to retrain your central nervous system not to send a pain signal. And that's half of the reason why these mobility movement things work so well. See, the problem when if you Google mobility movement, or, you see these people who are incredible at it, like you see these world-class, movers, athletes are just so good at it. You generally see an average person moving, and they're going to incredible ranges of motion. It's intimidating. What you want to do as an individual, and we're going to focus on the neck, you'll see in this video, is you just want to easily move in every plane of motion, pain-free. Like, for example, if you kept on moving your head to the right, and every time you move your head to the right, you got a shooting pain, it's going to reinforce that pain signal. So you just limit the range of motion, you make it smaller. And you can use this, we're going to talk about the neck in this video, but you can use this concept for any part of your body. If your wrist is hurting you, and it hurts when you do full flexion, go half flexion. Do this for a while, increase the range of motion. Eventually you'll be doing every possible range of motion pain-free. Okay, and I have other videos on my channel talking about this mobility movement in more detail. I have one on the ankles. I have a whole bunch on the neck. But let's go over this one with the neck, and we'll go over exactly what I'm talking about. Let's get this video started. Okay, see how we're going to start out with just real simple, that sagittal plane. See, I'm not necessarily going end range. I'm staying in nice, easy, pain-free motion. I'm just flexing, folding back. I'm going to do it 5 times, nice and easy. And then from this, I'm going to transition into a frontal plane motion where I'm just going like earlobe to shoulder, nice and easy, no pain. Then I'm going to transverse plane. We're just going side to side, pain-free motion. I'm lubricating the joints. I'm increasing the neurological connection. Now, I like to tell people, visualize there's a bowl on top of your head, and you're just making circles, scraping the bowl, going both ways. Just think, this is like a multi-planar motion. You're doing multiple things. You're using all 3 planes of motion. You may hear some little clicking and cracking. As long as it's pain-free, I would not worry about it at all. And this is a real cool one. I call this like a figure 8, like you're making infinity. Just think of all the range of motion you're getting here. Try to keep your body still, go nice and easy motion of the neck like this. After you go through a sequence like this, your neck is going to feel incredible. And this is probably the most important one. I would call this neck packing. I have a separate video on this on my YouTube channel. I'll link it up after this. This is when you're actually taking, I talked about it earlier, and you're retracting your cervical, and you're going to hold that position a little bit, elongating all the muscles in the back of your neck, all the trapezius muscles. You're actually making yourself stronger. It's such an amazing thing to do, as long as it's pain-free. So many people are protracted, rounded like this. Unfortunately, the older posture just reverses that older posture. Easy mobility movement is so important. The older I get now, I talk about it all the time. I'm 58 now. Yeah, these are all the things that I neglected when I was younger. But it's so important to do easy mobility movement. I would kind of minimize the static stretching and the passive stretching. Do a little bit of dynamic stretching, warming up before you're doing an activity. Strengthen your body with active stretching and just resistance training. And start doing mobility movement in all different parts of your body. Just think, move as much as you can, pain-free, to lubricate the joints and to remap your whole central nervous system. Okay, let's go. Let's do a little Q&A. I think I may only have one listener here, but any questions? I hope you enjoyed this. Any questions about mobility movement? Any questions about stretching or anything like that in general? I'm here to answer any questions you have. Okay, and then just to end this video, I always like to talk about, I have my online courses. If you're looking to work with me online, I have a 1-month program where you have unlimited access to me. We do video calls. It's like a wellness health coaching program. People get in unbelievable shape. It's like a transformation in 30 days. That's one option. It's somewhat expensive though. When it comes to my other program, I have a 40 video intermittent fasting, low carb course. If you're watching me on YouTube, you probably know that I have about 100 videos on my YouTube channel on intermittent fasting and low carb eating. In my opinion, if you're looking to lose weight and improve your health, there's probably no better way than to eating a whole food natural diet, low in carbohydrates, and then incorporating a little bit of intermittent fasting. This takes all the guesswork out of intermittent fasting and low carb eating. 40 short videos, about 100 minutes long. I sell it for like $97, plus it gives you access to a free Facebook group. And not a free, a private Facebook group if you buy the program. All right, well, I hope you enjoyed this, and I hope everyone's having a wonderful night. And let me know. I've been doing a live every night. I'm still not sure if people like these lives. I know I'm going to schedule a consistent live. I think I'm going to do every Sunday morning, probably, but maybe I think I'm going with 11 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, New York time. I'm going to go live every Sunday morning. I'm kind of been going live every day lately because I want to try to get the production quality up pretty good. Like I'm trying to get my lighting, my sound. I think my production quality is really good when I just do my normal YouTube videos, but I'm trying to get this live production quality. So I may do another couple of lives this week just to get the production quality good. And then I'll probably start doing one live video every Sunday, and then I'll get back to putting out 2, high production quality YouTube videos a week. Okay, well, I hope everyone's doing great and have a wonderful night, and I really appreciate you tuning in. Take care, everyone.